Chains rattle broken, now we rise. Flag in my hand, stars burn the skies. Truth ain't dead, though the liars try. They scream loud, but the words all die. Guys watching hands, raise to the throne. Freedom ain't free, blood built this home. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Red, white, blue, we bleed to survive. Who fight and strive. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Land of the free, ain't bending the knee. Truth in my veins, it's all I see. Patriots roar, no fear in the fight. Continue freedom, stand in the light.
Okay, welcome back to Continue Freedom. Thank you all so much for joining me. I truly appreciate it. If you are new here, as you're coming on board, whether you are watching the live stream or you're watching this after the fact, be sure that you hit, if you enjoyed the content, the subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video is released. We're going to talk about some of the drama going on at AMFEST. It's been a debacle, and we've talked about it on this channel. If you guys have been in here for any length of time, you know that I am concerned about the divide going on right now in the MAGA movement, in the pro-Trump movement, all this. And it's only getting worse. It continues to get worse. I think there are certain antagonists in this story that, and story literally, if you're going to talk about people like Candace Owen, she's crafting the story. You know, I think there are antagonists that are being divisive in what was once a successful movement that we were all amped up about. We were jazzed up about Donald Trump. And I've been the first to admit there have been shortcomings. But we're going to talk about all that tonight. We're going to talk about how AMFEST opened up and some of the distasteful things that Candace Owens has done, i.e. AMFEST opens up and she brings on a loon named Mitch. He says he changed his name. I don't know. Anyway, but before we get started, as I say, as we're getting more people on, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like button, notification bell. But I have to remind you, we got to have a little moment of levity before we get into the serious stuff. Thank you, Kilda. I appreciate you in the comments. Now, normally I wait until the end to get to the comments, but maybe it's my ego, and so I'm going to go ahead and put this one up. So thank you, Kilda, for the comment. But it's coming up on the Christmas season, and I think it's important that we check in on one of the greatest Americans to ever live, and that is the great Gary Busey.
Hey, it's Gary Busey, and I have got a great Christmas present for you. Listen to this. That's what a goose sounds like when they're flying. They let you know they're up there. You get a bunch of geese together.
Jeez.
They're honking in the air.
Good to see Gary Busey's doing well. Sorry, I had to share that with you guys. I saw it, and just like Casey said in the last live stream, I might beat a little. But anyway, okay. So let's go ahead and I'm going to end on something good because look, serious stuff going on. Straight face. Let's get serious again. I'll end on something funny as well, but nonetheless, AMFEST. AMFEST was a nightmare. If you guys watched any of it, it was Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro going fisticuffs at AMFEST. But while all that was happening, I'm going to talk about Candace Owens first. Candace Owens platforms who seemingly is a nut job with a criminal record. I don't think that she vetted any of this. This guy called himself Mitch, and Mitch alleged that he was at Fort Huachuca, which is the home of intel, home of military intelligence, and that Mitch saw Erika Kirk along with their head of security and a congressman in some meeting. So I want to listen. I'm going to play a little bit of this clip. This is a 3-minute and 30-second clip. We're going to listen to it. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to play some more stuff as well. Let's get into it here.
I am not. This is not my platform. Okay, I genuinely believe this is God's platform. I am a conduit. I don't know why I have a platform. And I don't know why you have this luck in life. I really don't. I don't know why these things happen to you or why they happen to me. But I know that my prayer was very intentional that night that I received that email. So I'm going to allow the internet to hear your testimony.
So I'm going to start right off the bat and say, she says that I believe this is God's platform. And she very well could. I'm not one to question somebody's faith or whatever, or their intentions, but I know that God is not a God of deception. Let's be perfectly honest about that up front. And we have highlighted on this channel, there are multiple channels out there doing it. We are highlighting the deception, and God is not a God of deception. Deception comes from a different realm, comes from a different part of the spiritual world, which is what I actually believe is driving whatever's going on inside of her noggin. But she also says his testimony, as if this is some court of law, and this is how she treats her show, that it is a court of law, that everything is going to be solved in the court of Candace Owens. And her followers, they buy into it. They buy into it because they are looking for answers. And that's legitimate. I call them a cult. I call a lot of the people a cult, but that's not everybody. There is the Candace cult. Ryan Mata is part of the Candace cult. Stu Peters is somewhat part of the Candace cult. Ian Carroll is fully bought into the Candace cult. But there are other people who are just looking for answers. She's saying she's going to deliver them, yet she never does. It's all questions, 100% questions. Let's listen to this here.
And then I go to my room and then come back out. He was joined and joined by a female that you can definitely tell when how do you put it, when people are well off and they're dressing down. She was definitely dressing down, and it was very well kept. The one thing I noticed about the woman that really stuck out to me was her eyes, and I have an ex that has caused me a lot of problems. So when I see someone with striking blue eyes like that, they stick out. And I was on the phone with my wife here, and I even told her about it. I said, "Oh, geez, somebody has those kind of eyes." It creeped me out a little bit, and it had nothing to do with that person. Just, life is what it is. I blew it off until there was, some other pictures that came up with other people.
What other people? Other pictures?
If you want me to say, there's a picture of Erika Kirk with a ponytail, and from her past. That person matches who I saw at Fort Huachuca in the lobby the night before, and she was with that man in the lobby, and that man, he was present at that meeting the next morning.
Okay, so can we finally, and I would just say give a call out to Megyn Kelly, her doing this, the first night of AMFEST, this very interview from a guy who has not been vetted, a guy who allegedly has a criminal record, a guy who says he had a gag order for 35 years. And then all of a sudden, as soon as the moment that gag order was lifted, he went on the largest podcast in the world to say that he saw Erika Kirk. Meanwhile, the guy actually did appear on a podcast back in May. And Nate from Milk Bar TV, he actually brought this up. He said he wasn't going to play the podcast because the guy looked mentally disturbed. I watched the podcast, and he did. He sat down on a ladies' podcast, and he talked. He waxed poetic for a 2-hour-long podcast talking about getting, with his kids and his, all this other stuff. And so, again, this guy is entirely unvetted. He emailed her something. She said, "Oh, this is from God," and she airs it. Later on in the interview, she goes back to say, "Well, I can't verify anything that you've said." Let me ask you something. Is that journalistic integrity, first off? I mean, to say that I am a journalist, I am giving you the facts, all the facts. I'm dropping all the facts. Yet I can't verify any of them. But here you go. Let me throw out some more speculation. And on the night that AMFEST opens up, the speculation is that Erika Kirk was at the home of military intelligence in Fort Huachuca the night before Charlie was assassinated. So the guy's ramblings, he did not come across as credible at all, like in any shape, form, or fashion. But I'm going to play the clip where she verifies or says that she cannot verify anything that he said. Let me pull this one up here. This is at 2 minutes. Let's go to. Oh, that's the wrong clip. Did I pull up the wrong one? Oh, I did. Dadgummit, I pasted the wrong clip in there. Either way, she says that she can't confirm. She can't confirm anything that he said, and she can't confirm the validity of it, but she throws it out there on the first night of AMFEST and gives him access to millions and millions of people, and those same millions and millions of people are the ones that are casting dispersions on Erika Kirk without any evidence. They are casting dispersions on TPUSA. They are ginning up conspiracy theories. They are driving people into madness, and they are splitting up a movement that was once successful and that we now know Charlie Kirk was holding together. Of all the people in this movement, Charlie Kirk was the one holding it together, because without him, it has collapsed. And I'm gonna play some other commentators. Tim Pool came out the other day and said, I played it in my last live stream. Tim Pool came out and said, I have seen the text messages that Candace Owens was talking about how she hated Charlie Kirk 2 months before Charlie Kirk was taken out. And here's the one from his previous podcast. So if you want to watch it, it's on YouTube. You can pull that one up. Let me pull up the where did it go here? Here it is. It was with New Earth something or another. And this guy pops on this podcast, and he was on there for, it was about an hour and 45 minutes. Where were Erika's children while this was supposedly, well, there you go. There's another question. I mean, thanks for coming back, Timothy. I appreciate you. You've been another long-time listener. And I want to welcome, by the way, the new folks. This channel's growing, and I want to welcome any of the new folks that come back to watch this content. But nonetheless, I digress. Let's see, where was I? Oh, here's the other piece of this. That the guy says, he said, when she asks him, how certain are you of what you saw? Give me some level of certainty, some percentage point. And let me play this. This is from Nathan Livingstone at Milk Bar TV. You've got to watch this, or you've got to follow his channel, rather. Go to X, follow Nathan Livingstone. The guy's does amazing mashups, and I think this might be.
I genuinely believe this is
Where
God's
was it?
And that man, he was present at that meeting.
Let's play the rest of this clip. I think it's where it was.
The next morning.
If you had to put it at a percentage,
here we go,
that you saw that the girl in the ponytail matches the description of Erika Kirk, what percentage would you put that at?
Those are really rare eyes.
Let me slow it down so you can hear it clearly. Here we go.
That's 95 to 99%. I can't imagine somebody else. I don't know these people from TPUSA. Never been associated. I could recognize Charlie Kirk probably. But what I started seeing come across got more familiar once I saw a picture of somebody in a ponytail with those eyes. That was that person. They were there.
Okay, so we are relying on this guy's power of recollection from 3 months ago, as he says, 3 months ago. And he didn't realize it in the moment. He saw a pretty blonde woman, allegedly. We'll just say that, we'll just deduce this down to how it sounds. He saw a pretty blonde woman 3 months ago with a ponytail. He later saw a photo of Erika Kirk and said, oh, that's the one that I saw, with absolute certainty that this is the one that I saw. And when asked, what certainty, how certain are you of this? He says 95 to 99%. Not 100%. He's not 100% certain, which is convenient because that gives him an out, right? As a guy who spent a decade of my life on military installations, pretty blonde women in ponytails do exist elsewhere in the world on military installations, to include other places. Let's just say that. And again, I have to go back to this whole, let's call it, it's testimony. Give us your testimony. That's what bugs me, I think, the most, or not the most, but it's troubling. Nonetheless, we're relying on some pretty powerful recognition from a guy who has allegedly been, I think it was, I don't want to say it was a domestic, let's say it was domestic disturbances or domestic violence of sorts, and I don't recall if it was sexual harassment, sexual assault, whatever. He said in his previous podcast that his wife came after him. Who's to know how all that goes, but the guy has a record. And this is who Candace chooses to bring on as the credible evidence while TPUSA is celebrating their big event that Candace wasn't invited to. And she says, no, I'm not saying Erika Kirk did it. No, she's just having some guy who got booted out of the military. They say retired. They say he was medically retired from the military. Okay, so while that's going on, the same people who later tuned into, let's see, that RD Trolls did about this guy Candace is talking to. I haven't seen that one. Sorry, I had to glance over at the comments every now and then. The video that RD Trolls did about this guy, I don't know who RD Trolls is. So, yeah, free shout out to RD Trolls, whoever that is. Thanks for the comment. I'll go check that one out. But while that's going on, the Candace cult goes after Erika Kirk because of the way that she acted when she started the AMFEST event. And let's play the video. You guys tell me what you think about this. Here
You
we go.
also learn some unexpected things, like the fact that Joy Reid probably needs a really, really good hug. And honestly, I'm here for it if she needs it. I got a good hug for you. Good hug for you. I'll even touch the back of your head.
So she's obviously referencing the scandal of her hugging JD Vance and putting her hand on the back of his head. Megyn Kelly interviewed her, and she made it clear. Megyn Kelly also talked about it, like, yeah, you're a deep hugger, whatever. Well, she made a separate joke as well, talking about Egypt, pointing fingers towards Candace Owens. Let's listen to this.
50 states represented. We have 25 countries represented plus Puerto Rico, but I have the list here. Don't worry, guys. Egypt is not on the list. Don't worry about that. But, oh, how funny. I say Egypt and my iPad turns on. That's fun. Where were we? Okay.
So people on X were going, especially the Candace sycophants, were going nuts. They were saying, this is not normal. How can she be cracking jokes? It's only been 3 months. It's this, that, and the other. And, this is the unwinnable situation that Erika Kirk is in. They watch her on X and she shouldn't tell a joke. If she doesn't tell a joke, they say she's trying to be too stoic. If she cries, they say she's crying too much. If she's not crying enough, they say she's obviously not heartbroken about this. And then Candace brings on that sycophant, and he says, well, there's those blue eyes. There was something about those blue eyes, right? So her eyes are too blue, so says the creepy guy that Candace Owens decided to interview. So this lady is in a lose-lose situation in the court of public opinion, so long as Candace Owens is spouting the nonsense that she has been. And it's unfortunate because, as you guys that have watched this channel for any length of time know, and as I said at the start of the show, this is what's dividing the MAGA movement. And there's Politico. Well, I just maximized that. Let me pull this down here. Sorry, we're live and I'm my own producer. Subscribe to the channel. That way I can hire one someday. But even Politico is talking about this. And it's not just Politico, but la-di-da-di, everybody's talking about the MAGA divide. And, members of the MAGA, this is what Politico said. Members of the MAGA faithful gathered here Thursday to kick off Turning Point USA's AmericaFest, the largest meeting for the organization since its founder, Charlie Kirk, was shot to death on the Utah College campus in September. Despite that somber backdrop, the event quickly devolved into a spectacle of MAGA infighting. And by the way, guys, I highlighted not yesterday. I didn't live stream yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? I forget. It all runs together. I was talking about the district in Kentucky that was lost to Democrats, that Trump had won by 30. I talked about Tennessee's 7th district, that the margin of victory for Van Epps was only 9 when Trump had won it by 23, 24, whatever that number was. This is a divisive movement. Politico, in a rare W, gets it right that, yes, there was infighting. And I'm going to play the videos from the infighting. I saw somebody in the comments mention Ben Shapiro. We're going to talk about Ben Shapiro. We're going to talk about Tucker. We're going to talk about all the things that they said in their speeches, slinging arrows at one another. But Ben Shapiro, who was the first speaker after widow Erika Kirk, ripped into those who would take the same stage in the coming hours and days. He called out conservative commentators, blasting Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and Steve Bannon as frauds and grifters. It was pretty aggressive. We're not going to play the full speech. You guys can go and watch it on X, but it was like 20 minutes. The conservative movement is in serious danger, Shapiro said, arguing the danger is not just on the left, but from charlatans who claim to speak in the name of principle, but actually traffic in conspiracism and dishonesty. He's not wrong. Okay, he's not wrong. And you, again, I'm not a full-throated supporter of Ben Shapiro. I've criticized Ben Shapiro for going a little too centrist in some of his views. And I believed because it was to get a larger audience. But nonetheless, again, he makes a valid point. Charlatans, conspiracism, grifters, they abound. And what we're going to talk about, part of what we're going to talk about tonight, is people that are grifters in that they leveraged the MAGA movement. They leveraged Donald Trump. They rode his coattails. They sang his praises because it was good. It was good for their exposure. It was good for the algorithm. It was good for money that they could stick in their pockets. And at the first moment that the first opportunity that they had, they turned on him. They turned on all those people, and now they're attacking them. And in some cases, they're using identity politics. So let's listen to Ben Shapiro before we go any further, and we'll start here. Let's. It's only 2.5 minutes. Well worth the listen. Here we go.
Third, and relatedly, we have a duty to take responsibility for what we say and do. If we hire awful people, we're responsible for that. I have some experience there, as you might suspect.
Candace.
That means that if we offer a guest for your viewing, we owe it to you to ask the kinds of questions that actually get at the truth. If we agree with the guest, that's fine, but we should own it. So, for example, if you host a Hitler apologist, Nazi-loving, anti-American piece of refuse like Nick Fuentes...
Okay. First point, listen to the boos. Nick Fuentes said this, and Ben Shapiro is going to allude to it in a minute. Listen to the boos. They booed him for criticizing Nick Fuentes. Keep listening. Oh, come on. X. There it goes.
You know, the Nick Fuentes who said that the Vice President of the United States is a, quote, fat gay race traitor married to a Jeet. The person who said that Charlie Kirk was a, quote, retarded idiot. The person who said, and pardon my language here, it's his quote, that he, quote, took Turning Point USA and fucked it, and that's why it's filled with groypers. If you have that person on your show and you proceed to glaze him, you ought to own it. There is a reason that Charlie Kirk despised Nick Fuentes, and indeed even chided Dinesh D'Souza for debating him. He knew that Nick Fuentes is an evil troll, and that building him up is an act of moral imbecility. And that is precisely what Tucker Carlson did. He built Nick Fuentes up. And he ought to take responsibility for that, just as he ought to take responsibility for glazing pornographer and alleged sex trafficker Andrew Tate, or for mainstreaming fake historian and pseudo-Nazi apologist Daryl Cooper as America's best and most honest popular historian. Hosts are indeed responsible for the guests they choose and the questions they ask those guests. Fourth, because we have a duty to truth, we also have a duty to provide you with evidence of the claims that we make. Emotive accusations, conspiracy theories, and just guessing questions, that's lazy and stupid and misleading. None of them are a substitute for truth. None of them are a substitute for evidence. So, when Candace Owens says, I don't know, but I know, that is retarded. And we are all more retarded for having heard it.
Okay, look, that's 2.5 minutes of his 20-minute long speech. And you got to tell me where he's wrong, because none of that's wrong. And you're going to hear this in a minute from Tucker. He talks about deplatforming and censorship and all that. Nothing in there is about deplatforming. You can have whatever platform you want. But the problem is, when you give credence to stupid people, as a lot of individuals on the right have, and you absolutely can. Full stop, First Amendment. But if you decide to do it, then you have a duty to push back and not lob softballs to Babe Ruth. And this is what they've done. And not just any softball. I'm talking about church league softball, slow pitch interviews. That's what Tucker Carlson did. That's what makes it disingenuous. And that's what Ben Shapiro is talking about. So, look, I'm going to get to Tim Pool in a minute because he had a response to all this. But let's listen to Tucker's intro at AMFEST, because this was him kind of, I don't know. Is that the term? I'm not a millennial. I'm on the cusp, but I'm not. Is it snapping back? Isn't that what they say it is? Snapping back? Oh, gosh, I feel old. Okay, let's listen to what Tucker Carlson says.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Whoa. Thank you. Walking out is always such a trip at these things. I just got here, and I feel like I missed the first part of the program. I hope I didn't miss anything meaningful. But I just want to say, I don't think I did. No, I'm just kidding. I watched it. I laughed. That kind of bitter, sardonic laugh that emerges from you when, like, Upside Down World arrives. When your dog starts doing your taxes, and you're like, wait, it's not supposed to work this way. To hear calls for, like, deplatforming and denouncing people at a Charlie Kirk event, I'm like, what? This is hilarious. Yeah, this is hilarious. Actually,
Denouncing people at a Charlie Kirk event. I don't think that he's ever listened to a word that Charlie Kirk said about Nick Fuentes, which is who he was denouncing, by the way. Ben Shapiro was denouncing it. Charlie Kirk said, I'm not going to interview or debate Nick Fuentes because I don't consider him a serious actor. Or a good faith actor, rather. Charlie Kirk, and we're going to get to some of Charlie Kirk's opinions. He had strong opinions. People think because he's this compassionate person, he had very sharp, very poignant opinions about a lot of things that Tucker Carlson has been playing apologist for. There's a foreshadowing. Let's keep listening.
one of the clips I was listening to myself, thinking as I often do when I hear myself speak, which is never, because I never watch myself, but at these events they always play like the role of you. And I'm like, that guy is pompous. Woo! Sorry about that. We don't see ourselves clearly. But the prediction that, at some point when Republicans took power again, which I did everything I could, to help, and really felt that was important. I still think, I was right. But I really thought that the impulse to deplatform people, or even to use the word platform as a verb, which it's not, it's a noun, don't steal my nouns, deplatform and denounce. Why haven't you denounced somebody else? The whole Red Guard cultural revolution thing that we so hated and feared on the left, that we did everything we could to usher in a new time where you could have an actual debate.
Here's the thing with denouncing somebody. You can go your whole life as a commentator and never say anything about Nick Fuentes. You are not mandated to say, this is what I think of Nick Fuentes. People do it. Most everybody does it because of, that's the expectation. You're commenting on culture. You're commenting on the Republican Party. You're commenting on the new conservative movement. You're talking about the youth and their how they've glommed on to somebody like a Nick Fuentes. So everybody is commenting on it, but it's, do you support this guy or not? Steven Crowder has played the best middle of the road on this. And he's kind of saying, you got to push back against certain things. But even in part of his interview, he was given softballs. So it's this tacit approach to some pretty controversial things, like Nick Fuentes being a socialist, Nick Fuentes being a national socialist, Nick Fuentes wanting free education and healthcare and all these things that the left wants. You know what I'm saying? So he is trying to, I guess, kind of making it black and white, and it's not necessarily black and white, but he's platformed the guy and then does nothing to say. He came out later, I think, because people had kind of gotten mad at him, but he's pitching this as if Ben Shapiro, other individuals are playing identity politics, while Tucker Carlson, his shtick right now has been identity politics. And we're gonna talk about that in a minute as well. So it's much like the left. Again, the using the same tactics as the left, accusing us of what they themselves are doing.
This
Let's
kind
go.
of was the whole point of Charlie Kirk's public life, and I think that he died for it. I really believe that, and I know a lot about it because the last several months of Charlie's life were devoted in part to arguing about this event, in fact, this speech, in fact, my speech here.
Okay. I can only handle so much of Tucker these days. And again, I don't regret, I've thought about this several times. Me and some of my buddies, we've talked about how we were big supporters of Tucker. We like Tucker. He comes across as an intellectual. He really does. But it's disappointing to see how he's moved. We're going to talk about his stance on Islam, which is very, very interesting. In fact, let's go ahead and play that one. But I don't regret having supported him when, even though it was a grift, what we are learning is a grift. I don't feel bad for having supported him in the past. I feel bad that I was duped. I don't like being duped. I don't like looking like an idiot. And it will not happen again, that I can promise to you, all my wonderful viewers. I learned my lesson, years ago, or from my experience years ago of getting into this political nonsense. Here, let's listen to this.
Most Americans.
This is, again, I've talked about this, but his stance on Islam has changed drastically to the point that he is now stumping for Islam against, in many instances, Christians. Let's listen to this.
Most people agree with that. Most Americans have more in common with each other than they disagree on. And almost everybody agrees on that. And almost everybody is willing to tolerate a good faith argument about how to get there. Except a few. And they're the ones running around calling everyone an anti-Semite. But everyone else is like, yeah, of course, that should be the debate. And they'll vote for you. They want that because they know they haven't had that. That's the fact. And what you're watching now, attacking millions of Americans because they're Muslims, it's disgusting. And I'm a Christian. I'm not a Muslim. I know there's a lot of effort to claim I'm a secret jihadi. I'm not. You should not attack people on those grounds. And you're seeing it from Republicans. What the hell are you doing? What you're doing is trying to divide the country. And I've lived through 50 years of this crap. All these fake race wars that they're always promoting. Oh, go hate each other while we loot the treasury. That's exactly what's going on. And most people are totally sick of that. So, yes, there is a possibility for a huge coalition of decent people once they free their minds from the traps set for them by others and realize, wait a second, we all want to make this country better. And the 15% or 30% who don't, okay. Good luck in Maryland or wherever you wind up. But
all that sounds really good, and a lot of it is accurate. However, he's talking about people attacking Muslims. It's not about the people. This is a line that I agree is difficult to draw. People want to look at the individual, but it is the ideology that is behind the individual that we have to go after, not physically, but intellectually. It is a destructive ideology, and to deny that is ridiculous. Tucker has been talking about how it's easier to celebrate your faith, or not celebrate, to worship, or to be a Christian in Qatar. It's easier in Qatar than it is in Israel, which is mind-numbingly stupid to say something like that. Qatar, I did the math, and it's about 60,000 Christians. Most of them are migrant workers. Those migrant workers are put behind walls in their 6 little churches for those people, and there are not allowed to be any crosses or any outward expression of Christianity, and people get their IDs checked as they're coming and going out of the compound that Qatar has given them because it is a crime to convert from Islam in Qatar. That doesn't exist in Israel. Sorry, Tucker, but you're wrong. And so he is, again, he's trying to make this moral plea about Islam, but let's be real, everybody. You all know this, and I know this. Islam itself is incompatible with the West. We are seeing it in the UK. We are seeing it in London. We are seeing it in the US, in Dearborn, Michigan. We definitely see it in Australia. And the other piece of that is Tucker is delivering this message of, well, it's you're just hating on Islam. You're hating on Muslims. No, we don't like the ideology because it is antithetical to our Constitution. It's antithetical to America, to our way of life, to our morals and principles on every level. It is. The people are ripping us off, right? I mean, here the Medicaid fraud up in Minnesota has topped $9 billion. That's what we're trying to stave off, that on a massive scale. And he did this, again, literally days after another Islamic terrorist attack in Australia. And so it's fascinating to say that Tucker Carlson takes the same stance, by the way, as the Australian leadership, the authoritarians down in Australia. Here you go. Listen to this.
Is radical Islam, in your view, the greatest domestic security threat Australia faces?
Well, the assessments are that that is one of the issues that we're dealing with. But I want to deal with all of the threats, whether it be extremist perversions of Islam leading to support for the ideology promoted by ISIS, whether it be also concerned about the issue of sovereign citizens killing police in Victoria and Queensland. I'm concerned about neo-Nazis thinking it's okay to march down our streets dressed in black, not worrying about their faces being covered.
So, no, it's not just about the Islamic extremists. It's about the neo-Nazis, which, by the way, I loathe. But the level of violence that is plaguing most Western nations is not coming from, well, it's definitely not coming from Christians. Let's be perfectly honest. And it's not coming from neo-Nazis. They are a bunch of, well, most of them are just losers. They're just pathetic losers who have nothing to glom onto but a different version of identity politics. But there is an actual threat because it's laced into the ideology. It's laced into the governmental system of Sharia law that they follow. All of it is destruction and conquest and subversion and authoritarianism. All those things are laced into it. They're peaceful people, and I know many of them, and I've loved them. They are dear, wonderful, beautiful people who are Muslims. I know many of them. But that is those are the people who are not practicing it to the letter of the law. If you practice it to the letter of the law, you get violence, you get theocracy, you don't have America. That doesn't exist with that system. So it is entirely incompatible. So it's a difficult situation, I guess, if you want to, I guess be one way to put it, that, yeah, we're, as Christian people, we're called to, as a Christian, I'm called to love them, and I do. But I am also called to highlight the ideology that stands to wreck this wonderful country, that is wrecking places like Australia, that is definitely wrecking the UK and Germany and France. Yeah. Sorry. I just saw this comment. That's a very valid point. I'm going back. I know I'm going backwards, but yes, that's a very valid point. So look, Tucker can say he's doing this for whatever benevolent reason, and I'm sure he believes it, because he's not entirely wrong. But for him to play apologist for it, look, here's what Charlie Kirk thought about it. Let's listen to Charlie Kirk versus Tucker Carlson on Islam. Here we go. Let's play it. Here we go. And then I'm going to get to comments.
As you know, speaking more and more about Islam.
If you want to talk about how Islam mistreats women, we could talk all day long. Because you brought up female genital mutilation, which is a teaching of the Islamic faith.
Most Muslim majority countries, you cannot criticize the Prophet Muhammad.
Muhammad, the greatest man ever to live, the greatest example, was a warlord who married a 6-year-old, raped her when she was 9, and then kept multiple wives.
Yeah. Remember President Donald Trump openly ran on a Muslim ban into the United States of America?
Total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
Do you think Islam is compatible with Western civilization?
Absolutely not.
You get rid of Christianity, and then, even more dangerous, you go from secularism then to Islam. Because then you're like, well, we have to believe in something, and then you bring in a completely different ideology that's at odds with Western values.
I debated at Oxford and Cambridge back in May. These are broken, conquered cities and towns. They're completely unrecognizable. When I go walk through Piccadilly Square and there's just more Muslims than native-born whites, or there's something wrong about that, and that is a metamorphosis that, and you have to wonder, like, did you vote for this? Did you want this? Did you invite it?
I know a lot of great individual Muslims. My primary doctor in America is actually a Muslim, and he's amazing. That's not the point. You could walk the street and meet a great Muslim in London. The question is macro Islam compatible with Western values? Macro. Of course it's not.
As many as 1 million white English children may have been the victims of Muslim rape gangs.
Islam does not believe in freedom of speech.
11 slaughtered in the editorial meeting at the satirical weekly Shakli.
I mean, Charlie Kirk had very, we all know, he didn't hold back on this. He was very open about, loving the person. It's the biblical principle, which is hate the sin, not the sinner. He does that. Look, I see Megan mentioned Apostate AP and David Wood. Yeah, they're very good. They go very hard against Islam. They hold nothing back. But again, this is what Tucker has been stumping for. And honestly, guys, I'm not down with it. I'm not down with it. Now, I'm going to go back to Tim Pool. Tim Pool made, I think, a very valid point that he's showing his frustration. He was I guess you would say kind of, I don't want to say he didn't glom on. That's the term I've been using. That's not what it is. He's a very principled person, I believe. He found more commonality with the MAGA movement, with conservatism now, because it's the old metric or the old graph that we've seen on social media where these milquetoast fence sitter liberals, right? The center left people, they show this, but the left in its ideology did this, but they sat still. And it just by nature, he found himself aligning more with MAGA, with conservatism than he did with the left. So he's not technically left anymore, although he would probably say he's more of a liberal. We brought these people into the movement, and now they're part of it is Candace, part of it is Tucker, part of it's pick your poison, Nick Fuentes, all these other people. They're starting to say, I'm just not down with this, and I'm ready to go. Show me the door.
Claiming Ben Shapiro killed Charlie Kirk, and before any one of her conspiratards come out and say, well, she never said that, she tweeted, every time Ben speaks, I feel more certain Israel is involved in 9/10Z. He's just way too invested in Charlie's murder. He never liked Charlie, and he's now suddenly pretending he had a duty to defend his legacy. Ben only cares about Israel's interests, so Israel is involved. So Israel is involved. Okay. The implication, the message sent to her followers, is that Ben knows Israel was involved in his murder, which means Israel helped facilitate his murder. What does it mean to be involved? And Ben is well aware that they did. The implication, of course, being that Ben is part of the conspiracy to murder Charlie Kirk. I'm not playing these stupid games. Candace knows exactly what she's doing when she talks like she's retarded and says these things with all vague innuendo that can only lead to one conclusion. And that's why, I want to give Megyn Kelly a bit of respect because I do think she is smart and does a good job. But on this one thing, I'm going to criticize you, Megyn. When Ben pointed out that Megyn was implying Erika Kirk killed Charlie or was involved in that, she did. She did. But she plays this game where she's going to come out and go, I never said that. Holy. You know what, guys? I'm going to be honest with you. I am glad that I did not go to AMFEST. To see Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson going at each other on stage. I'm so over this. Candace, yes. She's an evil person. This has gone beyond psychotic. It is what it is. I like Tucker. Tucker's allowed to have different opinions than me, same as many of these lefties that I know. And I think Ben was wrong to criticize Tucker in the way that he did. But
that I disagree with. Sorry.
But Ben has also a lot of opinions that aren't the same as me. This is junk. All of this is nonsense junk. The space is devolving. It has devolved. I'm not interested in Candace's retardation psychobabble. If this is what the MAGA movement and the political movement on the right becomes, I am not interested, nor will I seek to in any way be involved with whatever any of that is. It's bad enough this country is split in half with wacko leftists wanting to give kids sex changes. And now we have Candace, and she doesn't represent the right, I know. But now you've got this weird, we're working on this card game.
Okay, I'm not going to get into him on the card game. He made a good analogy, but this is it. People are getting sick and tired of it. They're fed up with it. They're fed up with a division that is entirely unnecessary. All of this is unnecessary. We had a good thing going. We've got the right to criticize people, but this is the grift. The grift is, how many people can I peel away from this movement to make them into my loyalists that I can wield politically and monetarily in the political sphere? That's what Candace Owens is doing. Candace Owens is building a coalition of entirely captivated people who, like myself, I'm not a Candace person, but like myself, I am distrustful of the federal government. I always have been. I still remain that way. However, I think there's a smart way to do it. She's gone completely, retarded when it comes to this. It's a childish way to do this. It's nonsensical. It can be nothing more. There's no other explanation other than a grift. Knowingly lying to her viewers. And she's saying, well, if I peel enough people away, I can make a ton of money, right? I can make a ton of money off of this, wield a ton of influence and power, and I can take that back into the political sphere and use it for my own benefit, for my own gain. That's what I think she's doing. And look, guys, we cannot let ourselves be manipulated by these people. I don't care who it is. We have to, don't let yourself be manipulated by me either. Well, obviously you guys know I'm not trying to do that. Listen to other opinions, and I'm going to give you my shake on it, the fairest shake that I possibly can. But you've got to go out and listen to other folks too. And most people don't want to say that, but I hope that everybody is. And I know a lot of people that have been here for a long time. You've gotten me onto other channels, to other commentators, people who are feeding additional information. And you know what? 100% of the time, I find different opinions. And that's okay. Different opinions, and I'm going to make my own decision. And I'm going to bring it to you guys. But look, we can't lose these valuable voices. Tim Pool, I don't agree with him on 100%. He's pro-choice. I'm not. But we can't lose him in this overall movement. We're trying to get the country back on the right footing. Now, is he going to automatically turn around and start siding with the left? No, of course he's not. He's not going to be, we've got nut jobs on the right like Candace. The problem is, Candace she is wielding a lot of influence and power, and that's troublesome. One of the big things, you guys know this, one of the big things we've been hearing is the reason you got to turn on Trump is because of the Epstein files, and we keep getting more and more information from that. It's never going to be enough for them, though, because the division, that fuels their pocketbooks, it fuels their influence, it fuels their power, their ability to change elections and to shape this world into whatever, disgusting little amalgamation that they want to shape it into. Or they just thrive on chaos. I don't know. But look, I'm going to get to comments because I've now been talking for 48 minutes. I usually try to stop at the 45-minute mark so that I can hear what you guys have to say. And I've seen a ton of comments. And thank you for all the likes. Thank you for the comments. I truly appreciate it. Y'all are awesome. Oh, and I have to say, this is important. I had a longtime viewer, Junior. He's been a longtime viewer of this channel. And Junior informed me that he's not getting notifications. Well, he informed me along with several other people. When I go live, nobody's getting the notifications. Not nobody, but a lot of people are not getting those notifications. So be sure that you check in, maybe check in every couple days, whatever. And hopefully you catch the lives because that's what I prefer. I love the feedback. That's what I thrive off of. Let me make sure that I didn't miss any of my main points here because I scrolled through this, I feel like really fast. We talked about that. We talked about the crazy guy that Candace had on. Yeah, let's see. Okay. Yeah, let's get to some comments. This is what we need. Give me those comments. Okay, I'm going to go all the way to the top. I've highlighted some of them along the way, so thank you guys for that, for giving them to me. As I see them, I've got a little tiny window over here, and I try to just pop it up whenever I can. Let's see. Timothy coming back. I appreciate it. Megan coming back. We've got we get return guests. It's awesome. The community here, and that's what you guys are fleshing it out in the chat. You all are having conversations. All that stuff is great. That's what I really want to see. So proud of Ben for standing on principle. I can't believe they had Tucker and Steve Bannon. Was so proud of Ben for standing on principles and speaking facts. Yeah, and again, I you guys know this. I repeat myself very well. Then I repeat myself. But I'm not a huge Ben Shapiro fan. He was, for me, was kind of novel when he started. That's not to say he's bad or anything like that. I just kind of, his delivery and all that, it wore off on me, So I've gone elsewhere for stuff. I still listen to him every now and then. Now that's an interesting thought. Tucker and Bannon, CIA. Are they feds? Fed. Let's see. They have a decision about people like Tucker so we can decide how much we want to support them if they are refusing to change course. Let's see. TPUSA is trying to manage this, but they need to make a decision about people like Tucker, and so we can decide how much we want to support them if they are refusing to change course. This is the difficult part of it. This is a point that I didn't make earlier. It's one of the challenges of a big tent. Tucker carries a lot of influence, a boatload of influence, and having people of different opinions. There are some that are just entirely verboten. They're not going to have Nick Fuentes. Charlie Kirk was a brilliant man who understood that Nick Fuentes is not a good faith actor. Nick Fuentes is a socialist. Nick Fuentes is glommed onto America first, and he is what he is. He loves Hitler and Stalin, and he's changed course multiple times. He met up with Glenn Greenwald in you can read about that. Just Google how he and Glenn Greenwald met, and yet he pitches himself as this trad guy. Whatever. He's a grifter too. I truly think he is. But we have a big tent, and we've got people with different opinions. The problem is, where is the line? What's the line that TPUSA? Because it's not about free speech. Tucker Carlson can say whatever he wants to on his show, and he should never be banned. The shadow banning nonsense that we get from social media is trash. Nick Fuentes should be on all social media platforms. He should be on X or he is on X, but he should be on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. Let the people speak and let us decipher what we want to listen to. But does that mean that TPUSA has some obligation to bring him in because he says he's America first? No, absolutely not. They don't. And that's the other illusion, or not the illusion, but the lie. It's not an illusion. It's a lie that Tucker Carlson had was they're talking about deplatforming. We're talking about deplatforming. No, that's not what they're talking about. Ben Shapiro never said deplatforming. Ben Shapiro said giving credence to little imps like Nick Fuentes and going soft on them, and that you have to take responsibility for that. Yeah, there you go. So I've listened to several people say that Tucker, you being a Jeb Bush, and Lambert, have you been on the show before? I don't know if you've been on the show before. Welcome aboard if you're new. I appreciate it. Is Tucker trying to schmooze his way back into his old friend group, which was the neocons and the old school politicians? Because he's played the role of the everyman. He's independently, not that being rich is anything. Donald Trump is obviously a billionaire. That doesn't have anything to do with it. But Tucker Carlson lived a very egalitarian life. He lived a very prosperous life. He didn't have your typical small town upbringing sort of thing. From all indications, he was a private school and all that kind of stuff. And yet he comes in and acts like he's a bricklayer. And that doesn't pass the smell test. I think we all know that. Let's see. Megan says, I'm trying to support TPUSA, but they have to make sure they're actually putting forward a message from their speakers that matches the stated goals. Need to shore up the leaks to steady the whole boat. That's that's a good point, because that's really what it is. TPUSA is they have, their coordinated messaging from an organization. So, I think that's well put. Very well put, Megan. The crowd at AMFEST went wild when they were, let's see. I took my kids to TPUSA yesterday. We saw Danica Patrick and Russell Brand speak. Brand has been charged with 3. Okay. I see what you're doing. Julia. There you go. Let's see. If I could probably add you as a moderator, Megan. I tell you what, DM me over on X. Do me a favor, DM me over on X. That would be great. Let's see. Oh yeah. Oh, good. We got. It's okay. I'm okay having the lefties in the comments. Y'all are welcome as well. Let's see. Timothy, I agree. First, spot on for good reason. I think that Tucker is a chaos agent who is an asset, and Steve Bannon is the same. Okay, that's an interesting thought. These are, whether they're, I don't always buy into the whole, I guess you would say the conspiracy side of it, that they are agents of chaos, but I mean that figuratively. When I say, I think I did a video, it might have been one of the titles of one of my previous videos, that they're agents of chaos. And I think they are, but look, I'm doing this by their fruits, right? You'll know people by their fruits. By their fruits, you will know them. And what fruits are we getting from, a Tucker Carlson? Is it really something positive? Used to be, I thought, but less and less as we move along. At the very least, I think that he, I think he's somewhat principled, but I don't think he's principled like he pitches himself to be. That's a terrible way to put it. I don't trust him. I don't trust him anymore. So I'll listen to him, but I take it all with a grain of salt. Tucker X dude, but he knows exactly what he is doing. Well, he certainly has Qatars. He called Qatar one of our greatest allies. Qatar, the same people who were housing Hamas in luxury penthouses, who have been passing hundreds of millions and billions of dollars to terrorist organizations. Yeah, no, they're not look, if you're stumping for Qatar, yeah. Yeah, there you go. Apostate Prophet and David Wood are awesome. I think I might have put this comment up already. DW and AP, their channel. David Wood, boy, the revelations he made, I was shocked. He came out and said the things that he actually said on one of their live streams. And I think I brought this one up, but Ken, so we prayed for AP till he met Jesus. Tim Pool is on that list. And I also pray that Candace and Tucker get better counsel about their beliefs in the Bible as they claim Christianity. That's great. I think this is an awesome comment here, because that is part of what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be praying for these people. And, Tim Pool, Joe Rogan is another one. I don't know if you guys watch Ruslan KD. Ruslan does great content. He really does. And it's all Christian-based content. So if you're not a Christian, don't feel obligated. But he does give a great biblical perspective on a lot of this culture war stuff. And he does videos every time Joe Rogan mentions the fact that he's going to church or anything like that, he's bringing it up. So that's a bold statement here. Tucker is more evil than Candace. That's a bold statement. It'd be so awkward. Let's see. It would be so awkward had no one acknowledged AMFEST the way TPOs had been under attack since Charlie died. Okay, there you go. Yeah, a lot of, and I could only assume that people like Erika, they want to move past the attacks, and just get to the core content of the event. But I mean, somebody's got to stand up for him. There's a lot of us out here that have. Ain't gonna be Candace Owens doing it. Let's see, Megan. This channel. No, okay. This is okay. Rage bait. This is my. You're feeding my ego here. I appreciate it. This channel needs to grow. I agree. This channel needs to grow. And it will grow as long as you folks that are on board hit that subscribe button, like button, and notification bell. I've got more comments to get to, but I had to throw that in there. Thank you, Rage Bait. I appreciate it. Welcome to the team. Welcome to the community. I like Tim calling out Candace, but Tim isn't the right really, so people need to stop thinking he is. He doesn't claim to be either. Tim also has his issues. Yeah. This is the thing. Tim, there's a lot of very intelligent commentators out there. Very, very intelligent people. And just because they say something with authority doesn't always make them right. You guys should do the same thing for me. To be self-deprecating, I research this stuff. I study this stuff. I try to look at it through the right lens. And when I have an opinion, it's generally well researched. I'm sure Tim does the exact same thing. But you should still kind of vet it yourself a little, or at least mull it around, right, in your head. What, do I really think that? Did he say that the right way? Do I really agree with that 100%? Because everybody's got their own worldview. I base mine on my faith. Mine is based on Christianity. But more secular people might, have different opinions, different viewpoints. Definitely, and don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't already. There you go. Awesome. Reiterating. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate it. Help me out down there in the chat. Yeah. Okay. So Snapple Apple, you make a very valid point that he has done this several times. He got frustrated because his staff, when he was moving, he threatened to cancel the show, and then he threatened to he's done it 3 or 4 times, and I can't remember now every time that he's done it. He has, part of it is theatrics, part of it is just the frustrations getting the best of him. I have 2 jobs. I have multiple jobs. I have a business that I run. I do some video because I'm in the photo video world. That's generally what I do outside of here. I've also done the reservist stuff. Before that, I was doing active duty military. I have a very eclectic background, but I have a lot of work to do during the week. And doing a lot of that work, it obviously takes a lot of time. All of my spare time that I'm not spending with my wife is spent researching and doing all of this. And I one day I will be doing this full time. That day will come, but it's in the future. And until then, you're double timing it. And I know Tim Pool running multiple shows, constantly on the go, it wears him down. And when you're being worn down, I could see people saying, "Oh, I'm over it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm just gassed." Where's the benefit? Where's the this? Where's that? I could see Tim Pool doing that some. And look, he's human. Just because he's got a show doesn't mean he's not human, So, let's see. Candace won't acknowledge. She says doing this wrong. Yeah. This is a popular thing amongst the left. Tucker Carlson does it all the time. He fabricates a person. In fact, Dinesh D'Souza, I could probably look up the clip. Dinesh D'Souza did a great laydown of how Tucker makes an argument. He creates a person that does not exist, motives of the person that he is arguing with in his monologues, and it's a person that is easy for him to debunk. It's not the actual person. That's whether he's going after Ben Shapiro or he's going after Donald Trump or he's going after whoever, right? You pick your person. He says, in fact, Dinesh D'Souza did such a better job because this one was also, let me see here. Dinesh, about Tucker's arguments. I could probably find the video in... Here we go. This is the one. He did a better job explaining it than I'm ever going to do. Let's listen to it, and then I'll get back to more comments.
You realize what Tucker has been up to really for the past several months. You realize that something much larger is going on. I mean, it's uncharacteristic of even the old Tucker, right? The old Tucker would not have praised Sharia law as having some good social benefits. The old Tucker would not say that Hamas is not really a terrorist group, but a political movement. The old Tucker would never have come to the defense of Nicolas.
I think this might be the wrong one.
Maduro, the socialist narco-terrorist dictator of Venezuela. So all of this is so unexpected that something larger is afoot. And the Nick Fuentes episode is part of all that. I think the importance of you and I speaking out is that we're not Jews. You know, Tucker would love to have it be Tucker and Candace against Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin.
That's not the right. Oh, here it is. Okay, yeah, I had the entirely wrong one. Let's see. It's the nail on the head regarding Tucker. Here we go. Let me play this one instead. Sorry, guys. You get to hear Dinesh D'Souza.
A ventriloquist doesn't even purport to be knowledgeable about anything. So as a result, what Tucker says is, I will develop a ventriloquist style. I have strong opinions, but I don't want to defend any of them. So I will set up a structure in which I bring in sources, often rather dubious sources, people you've never heard of. You know, the nun with the mustache, some disgraced academic. And what I'll do is I will ask sort of leading questions in which is embedded an answer, my answer, but framed as a question. You then will blurt out the obvious implications of the question, giving me the answer I expected, but I will pretend to be thunderstruck by it. It's an epiphany. It's a new revelation. People have been suppressing this kind of thinking for decades. So this is a shtick. It's a different shtick than Candace. Candace's shtick is the Candace Intelligence Agency. I'm like the world's greatest detective. You know, I'm the Pink Panther of my time. I'm deputizing all my viewers also to be detectives. Feed me information. We're going to crack the case. So to me, this is like an intellectual embarrassment because all my life I've been an iconoclast. I will take on ideas and I will try to dismantle them, but not in this way. My ideas are things like this. The Dixiecrats all became Republicans. And my strategy of challenging that is I go make an inventory of the 200 Dixiecrats. I put them up on a movie screen and I say, all right, I'm now going to show you through a movement of the mouse which of these 200 Dixiecrats became Republicans. Answer 2. So did the Dixiecrats as a group become Republicans? No. There's the empirical evidence right there on the screen. You can check it out, for yourself. So when I see this almost parody of investigation, parody of scholarship, it's very unnerving.
I found that to be the absolute best description of how Tucker Carlson goes about shaping a narrative. It's very interesting. Very interesting. Look, I'm a fan of Dinesh. I think his documentaries have been fantastic. They've been great. Let's see. Evil Dead. Actually surprised no one said this about Bongino. You have nothing against him, but he has learned a few times. I mean, not even half a year, barely. Actually surprised no one said this about Bongino. Okay, interesting, Ken. I mean, that's interesting. I don't know how I feel about the Bongino thing. Well, I know how I feel. I'm disappointed that he's quitting. And he's saying it's because of his wife, his relationship. You're right. It hasn't been long enough. Not enough has been done. I'm quite disappointed in Dan Bongino. I am. Now, I will also say that if his relationship is being strained because of this, that's his responsibility. His job is to maintain his marriage. I get that, but he had a show where he was, on the go all the time. He was doing all this. Like why? Why quit? What triggered him to quit? And it's very out of character. I'll be interested to see when he comes back onto his show. I'll be watching what he says about it, because he owes people, and he's going to get lambasted on Rumble. That's where his biggest platform is. He's going to get roasted by people. They're going to be coming guns a-blazing, figuratively speaking, for Dan Bongino, because he was the one who we all thought if anybody could fix it, it was going to be Dan Bongino. I'm disappointed. Let's see. No, I have not seen it yet. I'm going to watch it. I am going to watch it. Yeah. Well, and Timothy, I say I have to backtrack on myself a little bit, because he did this is the stuff that nobody ever talks about. The number of child trafficking rings that they've shut down, the crimes that they actually have solved, the cartels and organizations they actually have collapsed. The thing that he hasn't done is what we all thought he was going to do, and that was around the Epstein deal. But it is also a very, very short stint that he's been in, because he wasn't in the full year. And, I get it. His priority is his family. So that part of it, I do agree with it. But I don't know. I'm going to be interested to see what he has to say about it. They have done a lot. They just haven't done the Epstein stuff. That's the big one. Let's see. I think he is compromised. That's how I feel today. Oh, interesting. Okay, Tracy. Pam Bondi got to go. Yeah, Pam Bondi. I didn't trust Pam Bondi from the get-go. I've given her little kudos here and there, but overall, not impressed with Pam Bondi. Not at all. Not at all. Hey-oh, we got the Chicago Conservative. And Patel as well. There you go. Go check out the Chicago Conservative channel. You're big, man. And he's recently off. He's been unbanned. He was banned for a long time. He was at 30. What were you at? 30. It's like you're like 32,000 subs, man. And then he got banned. Just got his channel back, and he's back to making content. Congratulations, dude. We need Dan's voice back. I agree with this as well. Dan was he was a very effective communicator because of how he was as a cop and all that stuff. We thought he was going to come in guns a-blazing like a wrecking ball. We thought Kash Patel was going to do the same thing. And I haven't been happy with it. Let's see. Bondi fudged up with Epstein. Yeah. I mean, everything from the Epstein stuff has been poorly handled. I still say, because we're not even a full year into this. We're coming up on it. We're not even a full year into this. Donald Trump can walk and chew gum at the same time. I'm still giving him the benefit of the doubt. I still think that there's options. Bondi, I don't think is helping. I think Bondi is a hindrance more than anything. So, as long as we don't keep dividing ourselves going into the midterms, which I still, at this point, I think we're going to lose the midterms. And I hate to be a naysayer, but if this division continues, I don't see how we win. I mean, and the little trimmers that I've mentioned, from the Tennessee 7th, from the district up in Kentucky, from all these little places where Trump that Trump won, that are falling off, and it's like little tiny dominoes, little trimmers. That stuff. It's signaling potential trouble in the midterms. And by the way, the people who I can't, like Ryan Mata and Ian Carroll, Candace Owens, Stu Peters, all those people, they are going to keep doing it so long as it makes them money. That's just a fact. Like, they're going to keep doing it. They aren't going to stop. So liberals are violent and hate America. So he's talking about us losing the midterms. Yeah, the liberals are violent. They are violent and they do hate America. But we've got the milquetoast fence sitters who have been sitting in the middle of the road, and they're seeing quite honestly, they see the Nick Fuentes stuff getting a ton of traction. They see the divisions on the right. They see some of the stuff that we're pushing, and a lot of people just aren't. They're not on board with it. Those are the ones that I worry about. I worry about the milquetoast fence sitters, the ones that we typically don't think about, because, Vashawn, you and I, we're sitting here online and we're talking to people. We're pretty settled in on where we are, and you and I disagree on some stuff, but we can still be. Not everything. Obviously, we want what's best for America. We've got a boatload more in common than we have that's different. But we can sit down, you and I can have conversations about it. And so we're thinking of us because we're the loud voices over on our side. There's a lot of people in the middle that just they're listening to all of the chatter. And I think there's some people that are going to say, okay, I ain't with this. I'm not with that stuff anymore. I don't know. I could be wrong. I reserve the right to be wrong. We all do, but not a lot. We have yeah, that's right. That's 100% right. We have way more in common. I would say, Vashawn, that you and I would disagree on the little stuff. Some of the little stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Megan, the division from Trump appointees aren't as important as the people trying to destroy the right from the inside, like Tucker. You roll into them losing. Candace would play a huge role into them losing. Yeah, I tend to think that you're accurate here. Candace and I'm not a huge fan of Tucker these days. I don't know. Definitely not of Candace. Parody of it. Let's see. Let me see if I missed any comments up here. I think I've gotten everybody. Boy, I hope I didn't miss anybody. Yeah, Tucker plays stupid and lies while simping with these people. Pray on Joe. Yeah, again, Ruslan KD. Yeah. I think I put this one up. I mentioned Ruslan KD. Vashawn, you ought to go check out his channel too. I don't know if you've seen it. A Chicago conservative. You ought to go check out his channel as well. You would enjoy it. He's got some amazingly good content. Did you hear about the 800 to Ukraine and 600 to Israel? Let's see. 800, was it 800 million that we're sending to Ukraine and 600 to Israel? No, I didn't hear about the recent ones. No, at least I haven't read it yet. I mean, we've sent so much stinking money overseas that this is one where I take an approach that I've had some people. Let's see. I'm about to subscribe. I've had some people get really mad at me about saying that we should probably be cutting off. It's about time that Israel starts weaning itself off of American dollars, and they take it at a lot of people take it as, well, you just hate Israel, and that's definitely not the case in my instance, or for me. But it doesn't help them. Look, they get the money, but when it comes to them in their existence, it's not helping them in the court of public opinion. It's an inroad for people to fracture our relationship with Israel. So America needs that money. Okay, I agree. However, I would also say that when you take the dollar amount minus what they spend back in the U.S., which is 75% of it, it's actually less than we're sending to most of the countries in Africa and other places. So it puts them on the same level. They are going back and spending that money in the defense contractors. They have to. It's part of our memorandum of agreement. I don't like the fact that they tried to lock themselves in on this 20-year-long agreement. That's shady, in my opinion. But it comes out to $900 million is really what it is. It's exactly right. So they invest, and it's our agreement. They invest 75% back into. When we say into the economy, it goes back into the military-industrial complex. So it's going to pay for the weaponry and all that. So it's $900 million. We give. In fact, I could probably find it in my. Let me see if I can find it in my notes. The dollar amounts that we give to these other countries. Because I pulled up the chart a while back. Foreign aid. Let me see if I can find it here. Foreign aid. Oh boy, it might have been way back in, when was it that I was talking about that one? Goodness. But it is true. I mean, we're sending it to other countries. Let's have a fair and honest debate. What we're sending to Israel is, it ain't a gargantuan sum. I mean, it's $3 billion. We spend on illegal immigration, what is it? We're at, what's the latest number? I don't recall what it is. Let's see. I can't walk and chew gum at the same time, apparently. I'm trying to find that chart because I pulled all the stats, all the numbers on how much we're sending overseas. Man. Well, I can't find it. It's comparable to what we're sending to Egypt and Sudan and every other place. I mean, it's you pick your poison. And it's not, by the way, a lot of people say, well, it's just for the for humanitarian aid. No. This is military spending for other countries as well. Some of it is humanitarian. You know, we're sending money to countries to help them with famine or whatever it happens to be. Let's see. Well, I can't find it. Israel money. Is this the one? Oh, here we go. All right, here we go. I found it. How about it? So if we do the math, this is 2023 numbers, if I remember correctly. So we're at 16.6 billion that we sent to Ukraine, Israel 3.3 again, which in both of these instances, Ukraine and Israel, there are certain percentages that get spent back into the U.S. economy. So this one, it says 12.5 million for military and security, 2.9 billion humanitarian, 1.2 billion economic development. Cumulative since 2022 is 175 billion that's been approved. So that's the top line up there for Ukraine, 175 billion that's been approved, and we're spending about 16.6 billion a year. That's what we were sending to them. Israel was 3.3, again, 75% of which has to be sent back into the U.S. Ethiopia gets 1.8, Jordan gets 1.6, Egypt 1.3. Democratic Republic of Congo gets 1.3, Afghanistan 1.2, Yemen 1.1, Somalia 1.1, South Sudan 1 billion. So this is like, I mean, you add all that up and we're sending money to a lot of other countries, but people have the biggest beef with us sending it to Israel. So that's the numbers. Let's see. Let's see. What did he say here? About the 800 in Ukraine. Yes, America needs that money. Nope, it's invested back into things like social media, national banks. Let's see. Hang on. Where's my free? I view it as fine in any country. The specification for how much to pay it back towards the U.S. through different purchases. So, and here's my look here. Here's my beef with that. I have to be intellectually honest that, you know, a lot of people blame Israel for our involvement in foreign wars in the 25-year-long war. I blame the military-industrial complex. And when we say that you have to spend that money back in the U.S., it's essentially the government laundering money back into those same entities. The people that made out like a bandit when it came to Afghanistan and Iraq, where I was, it was the military-industrial complex. They want war. Eisenhower in 1961, he told us his greatest fear was a scientific and technological elite and a military-industrial complex. That he saw the growth of that post-World War II, and that getting out of control, he knew would be a detriment not just to America but to our economy and other things. And that's what it has been. It's cost a lot in blood and treasure, and the military-industrial complex stands everything to gain from us to keep doing that. And when we say, again, like I do, that mathematically speaking, from an actual expenditure, yeah, we're sending money to Israel, but they are putting it back into our economy. It is laundering money back into, these companies that I don't like. I don't like Lockheed, Boeing, General Dynamics, any of these people. That I'm not a fan. But to say that people leave it definitively at $3.8 billion or 3.8 that we send to Israel, well, that's not accurate. It's going back in the military. So we're giving $3.8 billion to an American company, and that I have a problem with. So it's a complicated situation. It's because that's because if the war in Russia, they're investing that money to test their modern day weaponry against a powerhouse country. Yeah, you're absolutely not wrong. This is what they're doing. This is funding. It's real world funding for military operations and military equipment and hardware. We used to get it, by the way, when we were in Afghanistan. My first deployment to Afghanistan, we got pallets, literal pallets of new equipment. And they would say, here you go. Here's, whatever, try these assault ladders. And here's this tool and that tool. And they give you all these pallets of free stuff. It's not free. It's the government paid for it. And they want you to test it real world. Yeah, some of that is going on. I'm sure that they're testing, new sensors and new things and all that stuff in a real world way, and we're paying for it. So I guess by that nature, we technically stand to benefit a little bit from it. But does that mean we should be doing it? No. I wasn't on board with us giving money to Ukraine. Let's see. Oh, there you go. There you go. You said it. It's money laundering, bro. Yeah. So it's more like the U.S. getting its tech tested by others and not at the expense of the military. Seems like a win-win. Explain if I'm wrong. Again, this is what I'm saying. This is the challenging situation that this stuff has to be tested, has to be real world tested. Do we give it to somebody we know is being attacked all the time, like Israel, to test it? It's a bit of a the Iron Dome has been. Let's use that as an example. Donald Trump has talked about building the Gold Dome around the U.S., and he's going to invest a ton of money into it. That Gold Dome, that technology has been nearly perfected because Israel has been using it for so long. It's the Iron Dome, obviously, for them. Is there a benefit from that? Yeah, I think there is. So it's complicated. It's not as cut and dry as everybody wants to make it out to be. We know that Israel's going to be attacked all the time because everybody that's around them hates them and doesn't believe that they should even be on the map. But it's such a lengthy conversation that we try to make so cut and dry, and it rarely is. I go at it from, is it in Israel's best interest to be getting all that money? Well, in the court of public opinion, no, it's not. It's not, because they're holding it over. It's a cudgel that they're using to beat Israel into submission. You know what I'm saying? And they can they afford to buy it? They probably can. Let's see. Okay. Boy, I've gone half an hour longer than usual, guys. Good questions. Thank you all for being on here. I appreciate it. I'm probably going to call it quits and go hang out with my wife, as I was talking about the importance of Dan Bongino hanging out with his. I might be popping off of here to go hang out with my wife for a little while. Let's see. It's getting more like the U.S. getting it. I think there's one other comment here. It gets more complicated, too, if people are looking at it from a biased point of view and don't understand what's okay. This is the thing. Our biases impact a lot of this stuff. Yeah, everybody's got biases. I've got biases. Everybody does. But if you let that cloud, good judgment, I don't know. Anybody can do it. I'm just as susceptible as anybody else. So anyway, guys, thank you all so much for joining me tonight. If you're new here and you haven't done so, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, like button, and the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video is released. And the video I was going to play, it was a funny one. In fact, we've got a couple people on here. I'll play this one. And if you want to know who, yours truly, this is where I'm from, right? This is a video I saw. It was fantastic. Good news story. It's a cool thing. And this is why everybody's moving to the South. I'm going to play this video of this guy who comes to the South from the UK. It's fantastic. Check this out.
Thank you so much. First time I've ever seen that. Really? Where are you from? The UK. I came here looking for an alligator. I've never seen one before. Oh, shit. Want to go for a ride? You want to go? You don't mind? No. Hey, don't get barking. All right. Here we go. Alligator. Ooh, the red, white, blue. Texas vodka. Texas vodka. Come on. Oh, he's coming this way. Oh, dear. I've never shot a gun in my life. You won't
These are my people right here.
I like this boat. This boat's real nice. The thing about this boat is the owner of this boat picked two strangers up and took us for this experience. And he filled the bottle up with bullets. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you all. Thank you. This has been one of the most amazing days of our lives. These are some of the greatest people in the world.
There you go. Those are my people. I saw that. I saw that. And I was like, if you want to know what it's like in the South, that about sums it up. This is why everybody wants to come here. But that's the American dream. Guns, a little bit of fun, out on the lake, hanging out with friends, family, all that stuff. Glorious. Absolutely glorious. That wasn't in Tennessee, but it's pretty close. I think it was in Louisiana, I'm going to assume. And I lived down there for a little while. All right, guys. Yeah, there you go. The best way to meet new people. And Timothy, thank you. Guys, y'all are fantastic. Thanks, and I will see you in the next live stream. Be sure, subscribe, hit that notification bell. God bless. Y'all have a great evening.